Welcome back to Retail Therapy. My name's Will DeFries. If you remember from last week's announcement, Barrett Dudley is out, so we have a special fill-in host today. My wife, Sally. Sally, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. I just got some Botox. Feeling good about it. Haven't done it since November. So, like a month due. Actually, it might have been longer than that. I was needed.
I don't know.
We're going to talk about this a little bit in my favorite things, but I'm really struggling with some skin texture issues, and I'm throwing a lot of stuff at it right now.
Yeah, it could be time for me to start using actual products that I have within our house to make sure that my skin's not aging as fast as it is.
And it's not even Botox isn't going to fix the skin texture, but it is going to fix these deep lines that are in my forehead of just.
What do you mean by skin texture?
So, like, what I'm noticing. Why are you already rolling your eyes?
I'm not. I'm just thinking. I'm trying to think of my angle of like what I think what the texture would be versus what you're referring to, because I don't know if I totally understand.
I don't feel like I have the glazed donut look.
Oh, okay.
Which is one thing, but also like my skin laxity is not as good anymore. And as a noted stomach sleeper, so I'm sleeping on my stomach with my head turned to the side, I have pillow creases that stick around for several hours now. Like, I'll be at work and people will be like comment about how I look like I just woke up, or even like my wrinkles around my eyes are starting to just like be set a little deeper. So not only am I doing Botox to help the wrinkles, but I need to be doing other stuff to like help. Maybe I just need like one of those 35-year-old facelifts, like just a mini facelift. People, that's the thing.
I don't know if I'm the right audience to answer those questions for you. I don't think you do.
I think we got to get Caleb back on.
Though.
I saw him this morning. We may just need to make Caleb like a quarterly guest to answer, because I was like throwing 1,000 questions at him.
Go follow Caleb. Caleb B. Martin. We had him on the Bro Talks episode of Retail Therapy along with Sally. So if you like Sally on today's episode, go check her out on the Bro Talks episode.
His face looks like a baby's bottom. It's just.
Did we tell the story when he came on about the first time that I met him?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Oh, okay.
That he said he had 40, or was.
He said something about having 43. He said I got 43, and he was talking about 1,000 Instagram followers. So he had 43,000 Instagram followers, and I thought he said he was 43. And I looked at him and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
He said I'm 43.
I'll follow
you said something about the amount of.
Oh, I think he asked me how many followers Scary's had, and then he said, "Oh, I'm 43," and I was just like, "I will follow you into the dark right now, my friend. You look phenomenal."
He does look phenomenal.
Oh, he looks phenomenal regardless. But if he was 43, it'd be like, what?
Be 22. Oh. I'm just chasing that 22-year-old skin high. And let me just say, if you are under the age of 28, you should be absolutely going ham on your skin routine right now and not just like leaving it up to chance like the rest of us did.
Well, I don't think you need to tell kids that these days, because like all the young Gen Z kids are already like mewing and taking care of their skin really well.
Did you know?
Randy watches those TikToks all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Randy.
I actually saw an article about this today, that California maybe is going to start banning people buying like really aggressive anti-aging products until they're 18, because you're exposing your body to like these chemicals that maybe it doesn't need at the time.
No, I get it. I kind of understand the angle of that. Like,
you don't need to be doing tretinoin unless you're on Accutane at 13.
Yeah.
You just don't.
It's like the guys that put Rogaine on their patchy beards because they wanted a thicker beard in high school.
Did they really?
Oh, I knew. It ruined their facial hair, I think, for the rest of their lives, because they were dumb. They couldn't wait just to grow up.
See, I was kind of like embarrassed in my facial hair, because I didn't want to be like having the mustache and stuff going on. So I was aggressively making sure that I kept that taken care of as a kid.
Okay.
Well, the first time I ever shaved was right before the millennium. It was December 31st, 1999, and I had one of those wispy little mustaches, and my aunt from downstate grabbed me and she goes, "Hey, let's go upstairs real quick at my parents' house." And we went upstairs, and she showed me how to shave that thing off at the tender age of 12.
Which aunt?
My Aunt Shelley. I don't think you've met her.
Okay.
But it wasn't like a mean thing. She was just like, hey, I want to go show you something. And when we did it, I was like, I look so much better.
Yeah.
I felt invincible going into the millennium.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What are you doing over there?
I'm sending you another link that I was trying to find before.
I think we have enough, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, it goes along with one of the links I sent, but
Okay.
I will I'll find it.
Okay.
I was about to be on it.
Well, we thought about throwing Sally to the wolves and asking for some listener questions, but based on the fact that she already hosts the mail-in, I was like, you know what? I don't want to rely on listener questions for Sally. I think we're just going to have to do a regular rundown. So what you're going to find in today's episode is some stuff that I would probably normally just talk about with Barrett. As I put this rundown together outside of the Sally-driven segments, I pretty much just did it as if I'm talking to Barrett. So can you do your Barrett impression for us, please?
No.
That doesn't sound anything like that. Terrible impression.
I have a somewhat deep voice for a woman, but I don't think I can get as deep as Barrett's.
I think,
and my forearm veins are just not even close.
No one's are. He's the most vascular guy in Austin.
On his arms.
You're not willing to do one, Barrett?
No, I'm not good at impressions. I actually normally have pretty vascular hands.
I don't.
And forearms, but because of how cold it is and I'm a little dehydrated, my little veins are not popping out like normal.
Yeah, Barrett's inspirational on that level.
Or aspirational is what I would say. Do you
care.
want the vasculature on your arms? I mean, I think like forearm
oh yeah,
porn is like
it just shows that you're just shredded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I don't have that.
What
I've got little lamb.
This
arms.
actually leads me into my next. I know we're going to talk about this, so I'm not going to ruin it, but discussing people's forearms and what they look like is something that happens a lot in romance novels.
Okay.
I'm just telling
you.
you.
Can you just wait like 5 seconds?
Yeah. Okay.
If you're watching,
be mad at me later for derailing the episode.
No, I don't care at all. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, youtube.com/Sunday Scaries podcast, you'll see Sally wearing a sweatshirt. I don't know if these sweatshirts will still be in stock by the time this episode airs, but if they are in stock, it'll be at sunday-scaries.shop. I bought every size of the green that they had, guys. So if it's out of your size, I'm sorry. If it's completely sold out, I'm sorry. We didn't have any big sizes because they didn't have much stock in the green.
Can I make a point though? I'm wearing a small and it really fits.
Yeah.
It fits like a medium / like I never wear a small in a sweatshirt. I don't like it to be fitted. This is pretty oversized for a small. I could almost go down to an extra small.
Yeah, XLs can definitely wear double XL. But
yeah.
I don't think there's probably going to be very many available once this episode actually airs. But if you guys like them, let me know and we can try to print off some more. I'm very into the blanks that we are using, and I think I want to experiment a little bit. But before we get into today's episode, let's hear from our friends over at Shopify. If you have purchased one of these sweatshirts, or if you've bought anything from Sunday Scaries, really, you'll know that this is coming from a Shopify-hosted store. I love Shopify. They make it so easy. Sally helps me with fulfillment, and as Sally knows, you can connect our shipping stuff right through Shopify. It spits out everything right for you. It's easy, but more than anything, it's just easy to set up. They've got templates for any sort of site that you want to use. And editing those templates is just very straightforward. It's simple. You know, it keeps all your customer history. It allows you to just collect all your customers' information so you can reach them if you need to, I don't know, do some marketing for future products. But they also have one of the best checkouts in the game.
It's
they make
very
it real
user-friendly. If this is coming from somebody who's, I help you, and I'm not a techie and kind of dumb about this stuff, and this is, I can do this, which is saying a lot.
Go make it happen. Upgrade your business. Get the same checkout that we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/scaries. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/scaries to upgrade your selling today. Again, shopify.com/scaries. Okay, this was the segment that Sally was like desperately wanting to do. And I'm actually very excited about this because whenever I ask Sally about what she's reading, she's usually a little coy. And so let's talk romance novels.
Okay. I'm going to give a crash course in romance novels. And there is a lot to cover. We're going to barely brush the surface of this. Randy has listened to me talk about this several times on the mail-in. Okay. In the romance novel universe,
Well, for anyone that's not aware of like the current landscape of reading, romance novels have taken over. Sometimes referred to as
Smut novels.
exactly.
Because-
And if you see someone reading their Kindle on the subway, it's probably going to be a smut novel at this point.
And props to them, because this is what I want to say. I really started reading. I picked up reading 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. I like got back into reading. It was like May of 2022. We were going to Cabo, and I was like, I got to read something. And then it really propelled itself over the next couple of years because I was having just bad anxiety about a bunch of different things, postpartum anxiety about the state of our world, etc. And instead of doom scrolling, which I still do,
don't say that proudly, which I still do.
no, but I'm not being like I'm too good to doom scroll. Like, hello, I still am very much in that game, unfortunately. Reading, especially fiction, like took me out of the doom scrolling like feedback loop and put me in a place where it's like I equilibrate this to like my friends who watch Bravo. We are not big Bravo TV watchers, but I think that people who watch quote unquote trash TV are doing it as a way to disassociate from whatever else is going. Like, there's a reason why this entertainment has value.
You
right?
walked into our room last night and I was watching like episode 28 of Love Island All-Stars season 2.
Right.
And you looked at me and said, "Why are you still watching this?" And I don't have much of an answer outside of that. It allows me to not think about anything.
Right.
It puts me in like an idyllic setting and it gives me drama that I'm not actually invested in to like occupy my brain space. Like it's just nice. It's a nice mental vacation for, you know, a night when I don't really want to take on some serious film or there's no sports on or I'm just not watching anything. Like it's just easy. And that's why I like it. And I think it's a similar vibe for what you're reading.
By the way, I wasn't judging you about Love Island All-Stars. I'm more saying that
Love Island All-Stars has not been that good. So
No,
judgment is warranted.
that is why I asked, because as a concept, Love Island All-Stars is quite flawed, but that's a different podcast. I'm going to say romance novels, but really smut novels. The reason that this is like taken off in the past couple of years is because the stigma around it, I think, has lessened because people are finally. If you say romance novels, people automatically think that you are unserious, that we need to be reading like the great American novel, that you need to be reading Ernest Hemingway, or you need to be reading something like some World War II drama if you're going to be reading nonfiction, right? Because for so long we've judged people in the same way that we've judged people for what they watch on TV of like, you're unserious unless you're reading some self-help book or some nonfiction memoir, whatever, or
some hustle culture book of the moment.
Right. Or if you're reading fiction, it needs to have this like great literary value. And finally people stopped being like, okay, I just enjoy what I enjoy. And when you say smut novel or romance novel, people really automatically go to like the Danielle Steele's like shirtless dude on the front.
Well, yeah, I feel like they've always been around, but I feel like there's been something that's changed in society that's caused them to become just exponentially more popular.
In my opinion, what changed is TikTok and Instagram, book talk, quote unquote, and bookstagram made a lot of these books take off. And also in the same vein, we started having authors who you still have the romance novels of the 90s, the smut novels of the 90s with the Fabios on the front, etc. But popular authors who are writing rom-coms started adding smut. And so there's like a scale. There's like what we call closed door. So like something's happening, but you're
Who
like,
is we?
Me, the audience as a whole.
Okay.
But closed door romance means this is your first lesson. Closed door versus open door.
Okay. Yeah. Part
Closed
of the
door
reason I
means-
want to, okay, I'm just going to say it because I think I just want to say it. Part of the reason I'm interested in this is because I'm going to start doing some more regular things girls do. And I think it would be entertaining to include some elements of romance novels because I already think that when I first started writing it, 5 years ago, or not, I mean, longer than that, almost 10 years ago. I guess I haven't been writing it for 5 years. I always felt like it could have gone there. And I felt like there were situations where I was like, it would actually make sense for this to go there. I would like it to, but I'm also writing this for an audience that's not used to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, it was just kind of different. And I think that there is a place for it within that storyline that is like, that can toe a balance that's not like egregious. But I also don't know about romance novels well enough to like understand the common tropes that you're about to discuss.
Right.
So closed door versus open door.
Closed door versus open door. Closed door means physical stuff is happening, but we as the reader do not get explanations of it. So think about, in the same vein as you're watching a reality show, maybe The Bachelor, and they're on the overnight suites and they shut the door. You know that they're boning, but the cameras are not there, the mics are off, and then they just allude to it
Yeah.
the next day, but we did not see
Okay.
the boning.
An open door is explicitly
Open door. Well, there's like
expressing.
there's a spectrum. I would say if we're ranking 1 to 5, 1 is closed door. Like maybe they kiss. We read that, but it's implied that they have sex or did other stuff.
Yeah.
Then you've got 5, which is like softcore porn, where like
Is it softcore?
and probably not even
Okay.
softcore.
Like, do
We're
they use
talking-
bad words?
Yeah.
Do they use? Okay, I don't want to get us like banned from YouTube or anything. Like, do they use straight up dirty words?
Yes.
Like, if I'm okay, right now I'm thinking of like
I'm talking full penetrative sex.
what I'm thinking of, like the dirtiest word I can think of right now. Is that in some of these level 5
Yes.
books? Okay.
Nice.
Wow.
Because also dirty talk is part of it. Like
Is there like a, like rated G, PG, PG-13, RX? Like, is there like a rating system for that?
no, but a lot of times people like on Goodreads, which is a account you can go like rank and review all your books.
Yeah.
Or even like in Amazon reviews, whatever, people will rate 1 to 5 stars. And then a lot of times people will use the little pepper emoji for like how spicy it is.
Okay.
Or say like open door. Now we're getting into a point. Okay, so we explained that spectrum. There also will be authors, especially authors of smut, who will place trigger warnings at the beginning of books.
Yeah.
Because-
that was a good question I was going to ask, because there's some things that like I feel like would, you almost have to.
Yeah. Trigger warnings or like tropes so that you know what you're getting into, because you don't want to be, if that's not your thing and you're like reading and then all of a sudden they're like doing bondage and you're like, oh shit, like I was not prepared. That a lot of authors have started doing that, like up front.
You kind of take on some responsibility when you're writing about things of that nature, just because of people's experiences with it, I feel like. And so like, having a trigger warning before something, you don't want someone to get, 300 pages into your book and then suddenly they're like, why did I just waste all this time? Now I am like mentally down bad.
I would say the first mainstream smut novels that like really exploded would be probably, to your knowledge, 50 Shades of Grey. Did you ever read 50 Shades of Grey?
No,
Randy?
I've never read a romance novel. I've
Okay.
never I've seen like the first 40 minutes of 50 Shades of Grey when it was on Netflix or something, but I didn't care enough. Like I wasn't, I don't think I was, I think you put it on and then I went and did something else because I was over it.
Okay. 50 Shades of Grey, I remember being like right out of college, and this was like novel to me. I was like, I can't believe people are writing about this, and like that's like not child's play because they're straight up doing bondage, but like that's like just an intro.
Tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna go over some like so we've talked about
Open door versus closed door.
open door versus closed door. We've talked about trigger warnings and like authors saying about tropes. Some things you need to recognize about romance novels, and this is where like things really explode on Book Talk and Bookstagram, is like how fast paced things are. Certain novels, there's different categories. So you've got like just rom-coms.
Mhm.
So we're talking like fun banter, but like there's clearly a love story. They're obviously going to get together. That's the problem I think a lot of people have, is like they're predictable, quote unquote, but like some people want to know.
Well,
like,
yeah, but look at
some
Hallmark
people
movies.
like
I mean,
a happy ending, right? Like,
but like you and your sisters like to sit around watching Hallmark movies trying to call what's going to happen. And while you're doing that, it's like, yeah, you could probably sit down with your sisters and write a plot line yourselves about something just based on like how much you know.
Yeah. So you've got rom-coms, you've got sports romances. I'm talking like specifically one of the huge one in smut novels right now is hockey romances. I don't know why. I think it's hilarious, but like a lot of hockey.
Okay.
Okay. You've
Hockey
got,
guys have a certain grit to them that I
Yeah.
feel like women would gravitate toward.
you've got like what most people will call romantasy, which is romantic fantasy. You've got mafia. Okay.
Which ones do you like the most? Like, do you gravitate
We're
towards
gonna
any?
get there.
Oh.
Okay. The reason though I would say that this exploded is because when our young little millennial brains were developing in college, in high school, we had Edward Cullen, who was the original book boyfriend,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
And what's a book boyfriend?
A book boyfriend is a main male character, an MMC, who is like, you swoon over, you want every guy in your, if you are going to date somebody, you want him to act like that guy. And because we came
So do
of
people
age,
actually become like fixated on book boyfriends? Like, is it a
Yes.
problem? Like, oh, this guy can't compare to. I got a Sunday confession the other day that was like, I broke up with my real life boyfriend because he doesn't compare to my book boyfriends,
Correct.
and it was like, I was like, man, I could see that being a thing.
and within the reader community, when you have a book boyfriend that like you really ride for, you're just constantly chasing that high of like, who's going to compare to, in my case, Zayden.
Chill
Ryerson.
out. I don't like how you look at the camera and like change your
but
tone
what
to
I'm
say
saying is
Zayden.
we all came of age reading Twilight, which admittedly was, and Edward was like the best book boyfriend because he was obsessed with her and he was possessive. And at the time you're reading this, you're like, oh my God, he like loves her so much. But if somebody treated you like that in real life, you'd be like, ew, like red flag city. But because
I'm looking up artist renderings of Zayden right now
okay. Can you
of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros.
Yeah. Okay. But because I think I came of age in that, I ride for like a really possessive, slightly controlling, like hates everyone but her. That's like a trope.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to go through a couple tropes here. We've got enemies to lovers. That's one that I love. I'm talking the main male character and the female
Anyone
main
but you.
character hate each other. And then obviously come together at the end.
Like
Pun
Anyone But You,
intended.
starring Glenn
Yes.
Powell and Sydney Sweeney.
But a big part of that trope, enemies to lovers, is usually it's enemies to lovers, quote unquote, but maybe they weren't enemies because he actually has been in love with her the entire time and she just didn't
Oh.
know, and she actually hated him because he was an asshole and he hated everyone but her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then
That
you've
feels
got-
specific to books. Like, I feel like that's
No. Anyone but you is a great example of that. Hate each other and end up loving each other. Star-crossed lovers, easy. That's Romeo and Juliet. Not supposed to be together.
mhm.
Forbidden love, families, whatever. They hate each other.
The Capulets, Randy.
Mhm.
Okay. There's friends to lovers, which is like, you know, your childhood friends, and then you realize that you've like loved each other all along. That's not one of my favorites, to be honest with you. That like, this is, everyone has like the tropes they love or don't like. And so sometimes when you realize like, oh, this book is a friends to lovers, people are like, at least in my opinion.
But that's also boring. Like, when people go friends to lovers in real life, I'm like, good for you for finally confronting it, because any other friends to lovers situation that never comes to fruition, like, is just someone denying the fact that they're in love with their friend because they don't want to whatever. And
Right.
it's just not a sexy storyline, even for like, just on the surface for me, that is easily third place out of the three you've
but
talked
I think
about.
people still go for that trope. Another really popular one is like best friend's brother, best friend's sibling. So maybe it's like, you know, your older brother's best friend, or et cetera, et cetera.
How
Something
common is that?
pretty decently common.
Okay.
Usually, so this is the thing. A lot of times there's like multiple tropes into one. So I'm talking like it's a hockey romance, but also she's his teammate's younger sister
Mhm.
and they hated each other at the beginning. So we've got enemies to lovers, we got the hockey romance, we got best teammates little sister. You know, Love Triangle is another one, which is also not really one of my favorites, but a great example of that is Twilight. Edward and Jacob.
Yeah.
Werewolf and Vampire.
I've never seen Twilight.
You at least have to know about it.
I know about it. I know. If you say the main characters, I think I can put a picture to their face. I've seen. I think it's similar to 50 Shades, where I watched about the first hour of one of the movies.
Twilight movies as a standalone right now, like honestly, are so hilarious to watch. It's like watching, but it's like in a fun way because you're just like, I can't believe we did this.
Funny enough, 50 Shades was inspired by Twilight.
Yeah, 50 Shades was actually fan
Randy.
fiction. Stephanie Meyer fan fiction, because who wrote? I don't remember who wrote 50 Shades of Grey, but she started off writing Edward Bella fan fiction, which is a whole other.
E.L. James.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And
If we've got the grumpy sunshine trope.
What's Randy laughing about?
Let's go off a tangent here. There's a very well-known thing on the internet that 50 Shades of Grey was inspired by Twilight. Twilight was inspired by My Chemical Romance, and My Chemical Romance was inspired by 9/11. So 50 Shades of Grey came from 9/11.
Okay.
It's a very interesting causation
Wow.
there.
Okay, we've got the grumpy sunshine trope where one of the characters is really grumpy, one of them is very happy.
Brings them life and changes their life.
Normally this is like the guy is grumpy. He like hates everyone except for the main character girl who is like happy-go-lucky sunshine personality. When you have it flipped where the girl is a bitch and the guy is like happy, normally the guy is referred to as like a golden retriever.
Okay.
Which is actually, as I'm saying that, pretty problematic that like when you flip those and the girl is grumpy, you refer to her as a bitch and you refer to the guy as a golden retriever.
Yeah, you really showed yourself. I know you're an ally, but there might be some critics out there after what you just said.
Okay, here's a couple that I like. This is tropes surrounding work and play. We've already done the athlete. We've talked about, I mean, you've got football, you've got hockey, you've got a bunch of different ones. One of my personal favorite tropes is the billionaire. Where
that makes sense for you. You like that's probably a retail therapy coded thing.
Like some of my favorite ones to read are just like Inexplicable Billionaire. He's like 29, self-made billionaire at 29.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, why? But honestly, pretty fun because it's very clear that these authors are not billionaires and they're like, the aspirational wealth is awesome to read. Like,
yeah.
Just.
Well, yeah, that's why I like
again.
That's why Succession was great. Like
again, we're talking 50 Shades. These are the tropes you're hitting. You're hitting bondage. He's a billionaire. He's grumpy. She's not really sunshine, but like virgin. That's another trope where the main characters, one of them is a virgin.
I understood.
Okay, then you've got forced proximity, which is where people are put into situations where maybe they don't like each other. They do like each other, but they're forced to spend time together. I'm talking
Two-Night Stand starring Miles Teller.
Correct. Only one bed. I think you can guess where that's coming from. Maybe they have to like go to a wedding together and there's only one bed and they have to share the bed. Major trope. Marriage of convenience or arranged marriage, where a fake dating, fake marriage situation where you like have to get married and not like for green card purposes, but because you like have to like trick your boss into thinking that you're married so that like they'll take you more seriously or something like that.
Yeah.
What other ones?
I mean, I'm still waiting for you to say like space, fantasy, cyborg stuff because I know that's something you've done.
Okay, well, that encompasses romantasy, and then within the romantasy universe, we have fantasy, and then you have romance that have bonded, or I don't know what the word is here. Bonded sounds
collided.
Sure,
worlds collide.
You also have fantasy readers who don't like the romantasy aspects, who are like, I'm here to read fantasy, but I don't like the romantic aspects of this. So one really popular book right now, as you just said, is Fourth Wing. The third one of the series just came out. It's like a 5-book series. The third one just came out. And as fantasy readers will say like, okay, I liked Fourth Wing, but I could care less about the like relationship interpersonal drama. Like I'm only here for what fantasy readers will refer to as, Randy, back me up here, world building.
Yes.
Where if you read a fantasy novel, you're entering this world that's not ours, and the author, a good author, is going to world build so that you understand, you know, the society and the inner workings of the society and what the characters and species are, because then within fantasy you also have like non-human shit. So I'm talking like vampires, werewolves, fae,
Don't try to gloss. What is that?
like a fairy.
Oh, okay.
Just a bunch of non-human species that like some of these elements are the same, but then authors can make stuff up on their own. Fourth Wing has to do with humans, but they have dragons. So
Are the
that's
dragons?
boning?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? I mean, that, yes, in Fourth Wing they do.
But the humans don't hook up with the dragons.
The humans do not hook up with dragons.
Okay, I didn't know if there were
explained that.
human elements to the dragons that might lead to
In
things that
Fourth
I'm
Wing,
struggling
humans are bonded to dragons and are dragon riders, but there are mated dragons that have sex that is alluded to.
to. How many pepper emojis is the dragon? Are the dragon sex pages?
They don't like go into.
Okay,
It's
it's
a
closed door. It's closed door,
door
obvious.
for the dragons.
Closed door dragons.
Open door for the humans.
Okay.
Okay, so that's most of the tropes. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to sell you on reading 2 romance novels.
Okay. Well, before you sell me on anything, can you just give me a throw at the wall list of certain books that you really like? Because I know people are going to ask about that.
Yeah, I'm going to list some authors.
Okay.
As I just said, Zayden is my number 1 book boyfriend. I love him.
Chill out.
I looked him up, Will.
I get it. He's
Have you
good
seen
looking.
an AI rendering?
Handsome.
Yeah, he's good
very hot.
looking. He's good looking.
Mysterious, dark. This is you, Will.
No, he's got a baby face.
He's reserved and
And
hard
this
as
is the
stone.
thing about Fourth
No
Wing.
beard.
A Fourth Wing is you've got people either love it or they hate it. I don't think that there's people who like sit in the middle here. I think a lot of Fourth Wing, at least for me and very many people, was their introduction to quote the fantasy / romantasy. Because most romance readers, smut readers, are like going mostly human and then entered romantasy because of Fourth Wing. Another series that was the entrance for people to romantasy would be what is referred to as ACOTAR, or A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. That's like a 5-book thing.
That has a movie series, right?
It's probably been picked up for something.
It was picked up by Hulu, but I think I recently saw that it might not be going through. So I'll look it up.
ACOTAR was very, very popular. And I have had the conversation with many people that if ACOTAR was your first ever fantasy book as a romance reader, romantasy, then your book boyfriend that you're always chasing the high is with Ruiz, who is the main male hero of that book. If you read Fourth Wing first, then Zayden is always going to be your top book boyfriend. And normally, if you read one first, the other one doesn't compare, in my opinion. Because I think the people who read ACOTAR first are like, Fourth Wing's not as good as ACOTAR. And then the people who read Fourth Wing first are like, nah, Fourth Wing is better than ACOTAR. I read Fourth Wing first. I think it's a good introduction for people if you haven't read any fantasy, because again, the characters are human. So it's a little easier to wrap your mind around. And I think Rebecca Yarros does a good job of like, she didn't start out as a fantasy writer. She just started out as a romance novelist. So she does a good job of like world building that's not too complicated. Whereas some fantasy readers would be like, her world building sucks, because they're used to reading like these just crazy.
Well, so what are you selling me on?
I'm selling you on Fourth Wing.
Okay. But is that the series or is that the book?
Fourth Wing is part of the Empyrean series.
Okay.
But most people will refer to it as Fourth Wing / the books afterwards.
Okay.
But Fourth Wing is as a book and as a beginner to fantasy romance and romance in general, I think is a great place to start because it doesn't. Where fantasy loses some people, especially mainstream readers, is like how dark and like complicated the fantasy aspects can get.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that if I like don't get one detail of something in the world building of it, I'm worried that that small detail is going to come back and haunt me later.
Mm-hmm.
And I start overthinking the book to the point where I don't want to read it anymore.
Well, if you think about like Game of Thrones being a great example here, the commercial value of like the TV show was obviously very popular. But when you start reading the George R.R. Martin books, it's like way over a lot of people's heads. And people who are fantasy readers, who are serious fantasy readers, love stuff like that because they get into the nitty gritty. Whereas a lot of people are just like here for the plot and like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Other authors I love, and this is the other book I'm going to sell you on, Allie Hazelwood, who is an Austinite. I don't know if she's originally from Austin, but she lives in Austin currently, who writes STEM novels. So all of her main characters are like really smart.
Does she have a history in
STEM
that?
women.
Oh.
Yes, she was a neurobiologist first.
Okay.
And like literally has published neurobiology articles and then became a romance
She's
novelist.
probably making more money on romance novels than she ever did being
Definitely.
a neurobiologist.
Yes.
Good for
Emily
her.
Henry is a really good writer that she does some great romance novels. A lot of her characters are really relatable, really lovable. All of the guys in her books are like golden retrievers or cinnamon rolls is another term, like soft, mushy on the inside. And she's got a couple. One of her first novels is actually set in Michigan on the lake.
What's it called?
Beach read.
Oh yeah, I feel like that is a starting point for a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people talk about beach read and then fall in the wormhole of like just
That
more
was
romance novels.
Her books were like what started me on romance novels.
Okay.
Book lover, actually.
Because that's like one book that if you walk into the bookstore, it's like always in the front.
Yeah.
It's always on a bestseller list. It's always there.
Abby Jimenez is another big romance novelist. I mean, there's probably so many people I'm forgetting here. I like need to get Christina Lauren, which is actually two women, and their first names are Christina and Lauren. They write together, do a lot of romance novels.
Writing together.
Mm-hmm. Let me see.
I feel like they're
who
embarrassed
else.
to do it on their own. So they're like, what if we did it together? Don't girls make like Hinge profiles together?
They do.
Yep.
Okay, anyway, there's a lot. I'm going to tell you that if you want to start reading romance novels or just books in general, 'cause she doesn't do just romance novels, Beach Reads and Bubblies is the Instagram I first started following. But finding a bookstagram or book talk of like someone who has your similar taste or getting on Goodreads and like saying like, oh, I liked this. What else is like that?
Yeah.
But the two novels that I think you need to read to just like open up your eyes to romance and how the plot is written in, like what kind of like yearning, pining, slow burn, etc.
Okay. Let's say that I'm not that interested in the fantasy side, and I would like to go something that is less fantasy, not Fourth Wing.
I am going to make you read Fourth Wing.
Okay, but if I don't gravitate towards fantasy. I think I would identify better with like a hockey or a STEM one or something like that.
So the two that I would say are an Emily Henry, so
Okay.
either Beach Read or Book Lovers. It's about Book Lovers is about two book agents, like literary agents.
Yeah.
And Beach Read, it's two
Like Younger?
authors. No. Oh, yes, technically like Younger, the show. She just writes a really, really good like rom-com, like you actually are laughing out loud, you're giddy, you're kicking your feet. It's like a fun, and then when the characters finally get together, you're just like thrilled about it. I would say that's a really good starting point. And then I think Allie Hazelwood takes that up a notch because even though Emily Henry has some open door aspects, Allie Hazelwood was like the first person that I was like, oh,
This is raunchy.
this is fully explicit.
Are you going to read Tinx's?
Probably.
Okay.
Allie Hazelwood novel I would start with is called The Love Hypothesis. It's not my favorite title, but it is, in terms of like Adam, such a good book boyfriend. It's set at Stanford. They're just so lovable, Olive and Adam. And she writes really awesome dialogue and female characters and really like a lot of pining. Like that's what the payoff is, right? Because if they have sex page 2, you're like, okay, I don't.
Yeah.
The tension's gone, but she does a really good job of like getting you to like 70% and invested until they finally get together.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm gonna make you probably read Beach Read or Book Lovers and The Love Hypothesis.
Okay.
Both of which are in my Kindle library.
Okay. I'm willing to try.
Let yourself just turn.
You
your
might
mind
need
off
to like
for a little
keep
bit.
progress reports on me though, since I'm not exactly
Both of
known
them,
as the
I
fastest
just
reader.
reread Love Hypothesis in preparation for this and to talk you into it, and I finished it in 2 days.
Okay.
Wow. An update: Hulu has scrapped ACOTAR.
Oh, okay.
So that show is not coming out right now, or if ever. I don't know why, but yes, it has been scrapped.
Amazon picked up Fourth Wing.
It's probably a good partner for them.
Yeah.
Well, if you have any questions for Sally, I'm sure she'd be willing to answer them in the DMs. Sally DeFries.
Yeah.
Sally, can we talk? Can we pivot a little bit?
Yeah, let's pivot.
It's a Friday night. You assemble your crew. Might consist of your sisters, maybe some coworkers, maybe some friends. You guys are at a nice restaurant. It's about 10 p.m. You could go home. You don't want to. Why should we make this night end? What if we got an Uber and we went downtown somewhere? What if we went to where everybody goes? What if we went to the Austin Proper Hotel Bar? Then you walk up to the bar, you're excited. You can have a really expensive cocktail at a really nice setting. It smells really good in there. As you're approaching in the Uber, everything just seems so idyllic and you're so excited. Then you walk into the bar and you see it just absolutely overflowing with people to the point where you're like, oh, why did we even come here? Of course it was going to be overflowing with people. I'm saying all this to get to the point that I'm making, that I think we might need to lay off the hotel bar scene a little bit. You and I had an experience recently.
The royal we or like?
The royal we.
Okay.
You and I had an experience recently where we were staying at a hotel, and when we returned home to go to the hotel to have a nightcap, the hotel bar was so full that we were being denied access to the actual hotel and being accused that we weren't staying there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we finally proved that we were staying there with our room key, we couldn't sit down at the hotel bar because it was filled with people who weren't staying at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was devastated because not only did I kind of not want the night to end and I wanted a nightcap, but I felt like we were, staying at a nice hotel where they should have some sort of system worked out to allow people that are staying at the hotel to automatically be able to get an easier drink than if you're just kind of going there.
Right.
And that experience started making me realize that, these hotel bars are getting so popular and like hotel bars are so in that I'm worried that the general public in any given city is going to ruin the experience for people that are trying to have this nice, relaxed vacation. Are you worried about this at all? Because we're part of the problem.
Okay. So it did upset me when we stayed at that hotel recently that we went back to, and granted, we were staying there, but we were going to bring part of the gin pop back with us because it was our friends.
True. We weren't innocent in that way.
But if you're a hotel guest and you are staying in a city where your friends are, I think that they should also be allowed to come join you for a drink. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. It was frustrating to be denied access to the place we were staying as they thought we were lying about it.
It's not the first time that's happened to us though.
But number two, it was really frustrating to like pay money to stay somewhere nice and like want to enjoy the amenities of it and not be able to because they were so packed with everyone else.
But don't you think like this is the first time we've experienced this?
On the flip side, where we're the people staying there and
Correct.
can't enjoy it. I agree.
I feel like we're more the problem of the people taking up seats that we shouldn't be taking up.
Right. And you are specifically mentioning Austin Proper because they have a great hotel bar. They do. Here's where my argument is. And we don't really frequent Austin Proper that much anymore because it's so busy. Because I already know like it's going to be impossible to sit down or get a drink. So we normally don't even gravitate there anymore. This, I think, is a problem in places that are not huge cities like New York, Miami,
Well,
Chicago,
I separate
LA.
New York because I think New York does what hotels in New York should do, which is they make a lot of their bars only available to patrons.
Right.
And I don't want all bars to be like that. Like, I don't want the hotel bar industry just to shut it down for people. But like in New York, they are much more strict than in your Austins or in your other cities that aren't New York.
Right. Because New York has so many hotel bars and bars in general, when you're thinking about Manhattan, they don't have this same problem because there are a lot of very cool places to go. I think the issue in Austin and the city that we were in and other places is that, especially where we were staying was very new and hip, and the hotel bar was really cool. And after we got home, that was like the place to go that weekend.
Yeah.
So it made a situation that like would have been kind of annoying, even more annoying, because everyone flocked to that place because of what we had been doing that night.
I pulled an article because I was like, there has to be an article on New York Times about how popular hotel bars have gotten. There has to be. There wasn't much. But the article that I did found was called "The Best Place to Drink," or "The Best Place to Drink is the Emptiest Bar in the City," and they're talking about hotel bars being more empty. She's not saying to go to like the most popular bars or whatever, but like I just kind of get the feeling at this point that if it's a hotel bar that you want to go to, it's going to be busy because everyone's going to know about it.
In Austin, but not in New York, not in London.
Yeah.
We stayed at the Bowery when we were in New York. And one thing that the Bowery does that I really love is that you have to be staying there or you have to be with somebody who is staying there to get a drink there.
Yeah.
I think that is.
I also don't think they'd totally kick you out if you walked in at a time when it's not packed. I think that they would let you sit down if you just said like, "Oh, I'm just trying to have a drink." I think they would.
I think for places like Austin proper or the hotel we were staying at, maybe this is a rule you enact on Friday, Saturday.
Yeah. It would devastate. It would devastate people in Austin, though.
It would.
They would be so mad about it, and I personally would love to hear the complaints. I would lap that up.
Randy, correct me if I'm wrong.
Randy hates the Austin proper bar.
This is what I'm saying. Austin proper is a very millennial place to go. If you are looking at the clientele of the Austin proper, it is
the
past middle-aged men and young, like mid-30s to mid-40s women.
Correct.
So Gen Z, this is not a problem for Gen Z because Gen Z is doing other shit. This is a problem for people who are like married,
it's a
have
problem
kids.
for parents that are trying to have a fun night out that are acting like they're staying in a hotel when they're not.
Well, because what this article is arguing is like as a married couple, if you and I go on a date night, we're not going to go to like random 6th Street bar to have a drink afterwards.
Yeah.
Like we want some like quiet corner to, which arguably Austin proper has gotten away from that, unless you go to Goldie's, which is like one of my favorite bars.
Yeah. Oh, like, and when I talk about the Austin proper, I don't dislike the space in the hotel and like everything about it. That it's desirable for a reason because it's like, it's my favorite hotel in town. But I've now formed a relationship with it where I will recommend people to stay there, but I no longer want to go have just a drink in the bar because it's so busy. And now I have such a present memory of us being denied while we were staying there that now I'm going to feel guilty if I see some guest walk in with a card and I'm sitting in some seat for 4 hours.
Right.
I'm going to feel bad for them.
So what I was going to say is I think at our age, we want to go somewhere quiet, but actually what has happened with Austin proper is that it has turned into the scene. So if you're like, we got to go like mingle with people, that's where you go now.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to their offshoot bar, Goldie's, which I love. And Austin does have some like cocktail bars, some like speakeasies that fit this bill. But what this article is alluding to on New York Times and is what exists in probably New York, LA, London, where instead of going to like the hip bar, you go to a hotel bar and you get service immediately. You sit down. You're still in a really nice, swanky environment. It still feels like a little sexy, a little out of the way, instead of just like going home and having a glass of wine. My favorite of this being when we stayed at the Goring, because the Goring has a great bar. Like, they have a really knowledgeable bartender. They have awesome drinks, but there's no one in there.
Yeah.
It's not a scene. It is like there to like enjoy a post dinner cocktail.
Oh, it's so not a scene that you almost feel like when you sit down, you're like, oh, like, do I need to get out of here quickly because they're going to wrap up for tonight? But they're like, no, you can stay
But
here all night.
that was what the original hotel bar cocktail was supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Was not a
I
scene.
just think we're taking advantage too much as a society.
And no shade to Austin proper, because it is such a cool, like, I love that hotel so much. The decor is awesome. They have great drinks. But now, because people like discovered how cool it is, that is now a scene bar. Like, that's where you go to like mingle with people, talk if you're single, whatever. I think there's two ways to do this. I think there are still probably like the Four Seasons in Austin has a great bar,
Scene.
but it is a scene.
I'm nuts to butt with every person in there whenever I go in.
I think in smaller towns, not towns, cities, where you don't have as many options, and this is like the clear millennial place to go, is that you enact the guest or guest of the hotel guests rule on Friday, Saturday.
I want room key after 10.
Or you're with somebody who has a room key.
Yeah. The dad in me wants it after 10 p.m. Open it up to the hotel guests. Bartenders are going to hate that.
I think pre-dinner cocktail, I think weekday cocktail, like if you're going to go meet somebody for like work drinks on a Wednesday night and you need to have like a conversation, you want to go somewhere nice, like a hotel bar is a great place to go.
Yeah, it is. It is. Might even be nice for them if they're staying there for like
Exactly.
an in-town guest. All right, Sally, let's switch gears a little bit, because if we did open this up to listener questions, I think a lot of people would have asked for your recent favorite products. Give me some recent faves.
Okay. First and foremost is going to be that in the last week, starting on Sunday, I started sleeping in a silk bonnet for my hair.
I know.
Okay. You know, because you've been
Very
laying next
aware.
to me. This is not groundbreaking. Okay. Black girls have been doing this since forever. Ever. And one of my coworkers the other day, last week, was like, what do you... we were talking about her scrub caps are silk lined.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I don't do anything else because the cotton screws up my hair. And I was like, yeah, I know. Like, I just like feel like I wake up from sleeping. I need to like get my silk pillowcase out again because I'm waking up and my hair is all janky and whatever. And she was like, you don't sleep in a bonnet? And I was like, what? No. And she was like, okay. Literally like scoffed me to the end of the earth and was like, girl, you got to start doing that. I started this a week ago. I don't want to like toot my own horn here, but I am having some of the best hair days I've ever had. If you're watching on YouTube, I think actually my hair looks pretty good today. It is a little greasy, like we're nearing, I need to wash my hair today or tomorrow. But this is game changing, mostly in the sense that number one, I was doing something that's an absolute no-no, which is washing my hair and then sleeping on it wet is really bad.
Yeah, why were you doing that?
Because I was lazy.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
But one, you're creating mold in your hair and on your pillowcase. Gross. Like, ew. And second, you're just encouraging breakage of your hair.
Mm-hmm.
So normally when I was sleeping, and a lot of times I am sleeping with dry hair. I'm not doing wet hair all the time. But when I'm sleeping with my dry hair regular on a cotton pillow, I am getting like, I'm sweating. My hair is getting like all curly and like just gross looking, like gross waves. It just looks very ratty. I have been putting it like basically like in a bun and then putting my bonnet on, and I'm waking up with like near perfect hair every morning.
Will you be buying Ajay Wilson's sateen lined hoodie for airports? I feel like this is on brand for you.
This is when you sent me this yesterday, I was like, brilliant. Because I think in the article she says that her mom didn't want her to wear the bonnet to the airport
Correct.
anymore.
Yep. And so she decided she was going to put it in the hoodie. And this isn't the first time this has been done. There's been some other collections that have featured this, but it's making some waves just because, I mean, she's a big name and it's a cool product.
Right. And
shout out to the Nike commercial.
Well, and so shout out to my coworker who was literally like, why don't you just get silk lined scrub caps? Like, or just wear this at night. So this is nothing new. I'm just saying that I have started this, and this is the silk cap that I actually just bought because my current one is a little too tight on my head, and it's creating, along with all the pillow creases that I have on my face, that's making me look like I have wrinkles for no days. All the elastic mark is leaving a mark on my forehead for like 2 hours.
I think this will probably do the same thing.
No, because it's a little bit lighter. It's not as, you can wear it a little, and it's adjustable. So I've been doing that. Thank you to my coworker and all the black girls who told me that I should have been doing this decades ago, like an idiot.
Tell me about Milk Makeup's Hydro Grip and Glow Illuminating Primer with Lights Reflecting Pearls.
I bought this for myself on Sephora to put as a stocking stuffer for myself when I was getting my own stocking stuffers. And
you know, instead of getting yourself stocking stuffers, you can just give me the list and I'll buy some stuff for you, right?
Whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, I bought a couple things on Sephora in December. This I literally put in my stocking, forgot I had it, and then started using it a couple weeks ago.
What is it?
It is basically a primer. So what you put on your face before you do any other makeup. It's got a little bit of shimmer in it. I'm putting it on as a primer. I have the gold color. I think this is, maybe there's only the one color. On this screen, it looks like it's kind of rose gold.
This screen, the screen that we have in studio doesn't always have the most similar color.
I have been putting it on and then I do Westman Atelier like foundation drops. I'm not like a foundation girl. Or I'm just mixing this with like tinted moisturizer and it's giving me a glow that I'm enjoying, that I'm faking because my skin texture right now is...
There's something about the phrase skin texture I just don't love. I think that's
I didn't send you a link to this, but my other current favorite thing is Retin-A, which is basically just me putting retinol.
You've always liked that.
No, but I'm really up in my journey.
What are you doing with your bag balm? Is this for your face or for your bags?
This is for my hands.
Oh, what about feet? You ever do feet?
Or feet. You know this. So
not really.
In addition to sleeping in the bonnet, I haven't done this all at the same time, but I posted an Instagram a couple weeks ago where at the very last slide.
Oh, and your gloves.
I'm wearing one of those like silicone sheet masks. And then I am wearing purple nitrile gloves. And it's because my hands are so dry. I can tell that they're aging, but like with the heat and then the amount of Purell I use at work, my hands are just like flaking off. It's disgusting. So I've been putting bag balm on them and then putting gloves on, or the same thing out of the shower. Been like, my feet are like, I've like opened up all my pores in the shower. I like use the pumice stone on my feet and then slather them in bag balm and then put socks on. Bag balm is essentially like Vaseline or Aquaphor. It feels a little more medicinal. And the reason is, I don't know what's in it that's not in Aquaphor or Vaseline, but bag balm was actually started in Vermont, I think Vermont or New Hampshire, to put on cows' udders.
Oh, I think I knew. That sounds very familiar.
Well, because we talked about this at Blackberry.
I at least knew you had to put stuff on there.
We talked about this at Blackberry because it's got lanolin in it. But at Blackberry, when we went and visited like where they milk the sheep, they talked about dipping the udders in basically like an emollient that keeps their udder and nipples like basically from being chapped, and it protects it from bacteria. So this originally started however long ago. I don't know if it says established or whenever it started.
Since 1899.
1899. So a century and a quarter. Literally slathering this on cow's udders to like protect it from like the elements, to keep it from getting chapped.
If it works for cow's udders, it gotta work for our hands.
But I'm telling you, notice such a difference. The reason I wear the rubber gloves from the hospital is I was wearing cotton gloves, which are a little bit better, but this is messed up. Cotton gloves don't have the little tech fingers that some gloves have.
Well, you can't scroll your phone.
So you can't scroll your phone, or in my case, read your Kindle, because you don't have the touch. I'm sure you could find cotton gloves at this point that had the tech finger.
Oh, yeah. So they make ski gloves with it on there and stuff.
Right, I know, but they don't have just cheapo cotton gloves.
Well, maybe someday Scaries needs to produce their own moisturizing gloves with little finger pads.
Honestly, you should do it before the Skinny Confidential takes it. So I do that with rubber gloves. I'm going to start sleeping in the bonnet. And the rubber gloves make me look like a serial killer, but it is what it is. I mean,
it does. Beauty
is pain. We're doing all this like it's not sexy for you, but it makes me look sexier during the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, this is my last. I am not going to get these specifically, and I sent you another link for some Target ones. But if you'll go to the white colorway of the Miu Miu ones, are boat shoes making a comeback?
They've kind of been bubbling for a little bit, but I think there's still a lot of hesitation, especially within kind of like
The millennial community who wore boat shoes in college,
Yeah.
even though they'd never been on a boat before.
I also think that like being in Austin, I think we have extreme hesitancy in Austin for people to want to wear stuff like this. But in terms of companies coming out with boat shoes, it's been probably one of the more popular things I've seen lately. And
Well, I
I'm not opposed to it at all. You know how I
Loafers-
grew up. I mean, wearing boat shoes all the time.
Loafers made a huge comeback, I would say, in the last couple of years. Not that loafers ever left, but like
These are cool.
loafers for women. Miu Miu is doing these boat shoes. They literally look like almost exactly like Sperry's, but in true Target fashion, Target just knocked them off. These are like $995, I think. Target knocked them off so quickly in the white colorway, and I'm like, I don't know if this is a trend
Go
I'm
get them.
fully willing to hop on, and maybe I will. I don't know what the longevity of this is. So sometimes I don't love that we have brands where they can just knock off giant designer brands. But in the same sense, jumping in on a trend like this for me that I'm not sure I'm super into, a great way to do it is with a cheaper one at Target or something to decide, am I going to keep wearing this?
That's fine.
Did you pull up the Target link I sent you
No.
to show? Okay, cool.
No, let me pull that up right now. Sorry.
See right up
Usually Barrett's the one who's doing the great job on the
I
screen.
mean, those look nearly identical.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to like fool people into thinking that I'm wearing a Miu Miu shoe. I'm just saying
No,
like
but even like the way that the toe
the
is,
structure
you know,
is the
everything
same. They
about it.
obviously don't. The Miu Miu like white colorway has like distressing. These are just
We need to buy
plain.
a Miu Miu stamp so you can stamp the tongue.
But I'm not trying to like make a. This is like I'm not trying to like present myself as wearing a Miu Miu shoe. I'm just saying that is the look. That's what's like what popular. You're pulling up ones that you sent me yesterday.
Yeah, that like I don't think I would right now. I don't think I would buy a boat shoe that didn't have something to it. And like they have these little beads on the outlets things, and it's just there's something about
These
it
are
that
the
I
ones by Noah.
yeah by Noah. They're currently available. They're out of my price range for what I would want to spend on something like this at $288. But like something like this actually does interest me. I actually think it's a lot cooler, and it's almost like more moccasin than boat shoe in a way.
Right.
But like. I kind of see myself getting a pair of more loafery shoes to kind of rock in casual times this year.
Especially in the summer.
Yeah. That was your last item?
I think so. I
Yep.
think that's all I sent.
Do you want my aesthetic of the week?
Sure.
Snail Girl Spring.
Okay.
I don't know who the person is that posted this, the notorious JOV. But they want you to go with the flow. Eat lots of fruits and veggies, take things slow, stay moisturized, and spend time in nature. Are you okay with Snail Girl Spring?
Yeah.
Just-
Actually, one of an Instagram that I follow, his name is Primal Gourmet. He's a guy that I started following because of like Whole30, but he's honestly a great Instagram chef.
Is he
Ronnie.
snailing right now?
He posts his lunch every day, and it is just like every story is like a tin of anchovies, radishes, cucumbers, like some sort of like ranch or something, like straight up just lettuce. Like it's all veggies and then like a tin of like tinned fish.
I think we should normalize, instead of just putting dressing on salads, I think we should normalize having a bowl full of vegetables that we just dip into the ranch dressing on the side.
Yeah. And just using vegetables as vehicles for ranch.
Exactly.
But honestly, every time he posted, I'm like, that honestly looks great. Like I would probably feel so much better if I just ate like cucumbers, tomatoes, radishes, and some tinned fish than like the chicken nuggets I just ate at the hospital.
Well, obviously, you're going to feel better.
This is honestly Snail Girl Spring though with the fruits and veggies giving more like rabbit. I would call this
Rabbits
rabbit.
move too fast. We're snailing. We're moving slowly and intentionally. Articles of interest. I'm going to knock these out very quickly. I think Barrett and I had recently talked about tennis sweaters. Brandy, do you remember us talking tennis sweaters, or was this something we talked about off mic?
I don't remember you guys talking tennis.
We were
sweaters.
talking tennis sweaters at one point, just kind of like the country club, deep V-neck, very, very like, generic white guy.
With contrast trim and like
Bodie has
Cable,
one that
yeah.
they just put out. I've been seeing people
Stott
whose
has
style
some.
that I like. Like, I just think that this is going to be a trend that we're not going to see the end of until the end of summer. And so, like, if you're going to go through your grandparents' wardrobe and grab some sweaters, now's the time.
Ralph Lauren has some of these.
It's Lauren.
Lauren.
He's American.
Lauren,
It's okay.
whatever. Stott has some.
They're cool. I'm into
Yeah.
it. I'm into it. We don't live in a city that kind of is conducive to wearing those during the summer months, like you people up north, but like it's still a look that I'm into right now. Barrett would love talking about this right now, but he can't. The Mars Yard 3.0 Tom Sachs Nike collaboration is officially on for 2025. Barrett has Barrett and I each have a pair of Nike Tom Sachs shoes that we absolutely love. And we are very much hoping to procure a pair of these because they're just kind of dope.
Yeah, I like the colorway.
But these have been hard to get in the past, the other versions of them. So it's kind of a big deal that they're re-releasing these. They have a little cult following. They should be very expensive on the resale market. The sneaker market's back, Sally. It's not back, but you know. ALD. Randy's been waiting all day for this. All right, Sally, we're going to do a quick little perusal here. Okay.
Let me just say, can I tell the story about yesterday?
What?
You texted and said, I'm not on the early release email anymore, and I am freaking out.
It's okay. I'm a little bummed that I'm not on the early emails anymore because I enjoyed getting that feeling of being on the early ones. Anytime you
being
get something
superior
early,
to others.
it feels cool. But I'm also really proud of myself for not being on the early list because of
you
my
haven't
purchase
spent any
history.
money with them
Yeah,
recently.
like I'm very proud of that. I think that's like there have been people that have reached out about our wish list items and stuff like that, being like, "How do you afford all this? It's so expensive." And I'm like, "We don't buy everything we talk about. We just like this stuff and like talking about it."
Right.
And so, like, I'm proud of myself for not buying any ALD in the last year, or not enough to at least be on their list.
Are you going to buy anything from this drop?
Well, we're going to talk about that right now. A lot of people are loving the distressed moto jackets. I don't think I can justify spending $2,500 on a leather jacket.
It's also so much branding.
Yeah.
It's a lot of branding. It's very large.
I'm going to speak for Barrett here. He loves this polka dot sweater. It's a zip-up sweater that really gives cycling. The reason this sweater looks the way it does, Sally, is because they have a very specific jersey in the Tour de France that is red polka dots.
Okay.
For
what does it mean?
I think it's for the fastest climber, if my memory serves me correctly.
I thought that was just a white jersey.
No.
Okay.
But they're just kind of cool pieces. But again, like these are, I think, $500. Like it's just a lot. Okay, now I'm just going to do the will scroll, and I'm going to stop at what I think I freak with.
There was a couple hats in here that I freak with.
The hats have been commandeered by like the douchey fashion bros.
Cool. So you're calling me a douchey fashion bro, or
are you a Nolita dirtbag?
Yeah, you're kind of a Nolita dirtbag, Sally.
Wow.
I don't think that's necessarily. I think these loafers are very nice. This is a very cool piece that is also quite expensive. It's their Gore-Tex jacket. Why am I not able to see? Oh, there we go. Like people are loving this, but like it's too brand heavy and I can't get enough of the photos to load. Okay, let's see. I'm going to scroll past these hats. Barrett and I always talk about how sick it would be to be a Mets fan because they just released like very Mets and Yankees specific stuff. And this particular jacket I thought was pretty sweet. If you're a Mets fan, they're doing scaled back double knee pants without the hardware, which I think I'm okay with. I think we needed to scale back and not steal so much valor from everybody. These shoes, I'm going to click on the orange pair because it's the easiest to see the differences. But people are loving these, and I am one of the people that are loving these. I think the flap is removable, and it kind of reveals that little embossed logo from them, and I think they're pretty cool.
Okay.
But people are loving these derby shoes. Let me see. As I scrolled yesterday, I was very excited to see this particular item. It's this sweatshirt rugby. When you and I went to the store probably 8 years ago.
This is the first thing you ever bought from them.
First thing I ever bought from them, and it had a little different logo. I actually like this one enough that I might get it again. But I don't have it anymore, and it kind of bums me out.
Why did you get rid of it?
I don't know if I got rid of it or if I lost it or what happened.
Okay.
And so I might actually just buy this out of pure nostalgia.
Okay.
And I don't think from that point on there's much that I really want to entertain. What hats are you looking at that you were into?
I don't remember, honestly.
They actually did a great job with this little nod to the soccer warm up. I think these are pretty cool based on like their previous soccer collections that they've done.
Okay.
The material's right. The fit looks right. They just are kind of cool. But again, I'm not going to spend money on anything that's not like a legit soccer thing, most likely. But I don't know. I think things are looking up. I really like these sweaters. They have these like mock neck sweaters. I'm going to click on the green just because it has the best contrast to see. If you go to right now, if you go to J. Crew, and if you go to their men's, sorry, I've got crazy pop-ups. If you go to their men's new arrivals, you will very quickly see that they have a sweater that is just like this for a third of the price in very similar colors. It's not coming up right now, but like it's honestly very similar colors, like exact same sweater. Quality's not going to be there,
Right.
but if you're looking for the vibe for a third of the price, look no further than that. I don't think I need to go through much more of this.
Okay.
The last thing I was going to talk about, which I don't really feel like going down, is an article from the New York Times that is what is your outfit telling your therapist? And the article pretty much just says like therapists do take it into account a little bit.
So if you like look like a slob, they think you're depressed?
Yeah,
or?
maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of says that. But I do think that we need to find a new retail therapy listener, and her name is Isa Toledo. She's a 34-year-old artist living in Lisbon. She broke up with her therapist partly because of a seemingly offhand comment about something she was wearing.
Wow.
One day she arrived at therapy in a cherished vintage wool coat. Her therapist complimented the garment and asked if she had purchased it at, do you know what this is? Decidual, whatever.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
I think it's essentially a Portuguese or Spanish or European like Shein type brand, fast fashion. It's a chain.
I don't think it's Shein. I think it's more like Zara.
Okay. Well, fast fashion chain. She says, I was very taken aback. I didn't want the compliment and was stunned that she thought it was that. So she broke up with her therapist.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm not saying it's right, but I do think she needs to start listening to retail therapy because that is such an unnecessary flex. I don't want your compliment.
I don't think my therapist thinks anything about what I wear, but we also I don't see her in person, you know?
Yeah.
And she can only like basically see like me from the neck up.
Yeah. I think she can just tell by the look on my face.
Yeah. She's more dealing with me crying. So
I'm not going to do a wish list item today because if I had one, it'd probably just be the nostalgic purchase from ALD that I don't think I'm going to end up making.
Okay.
Do you have anything you want to toss out there?
No.
Okay. You gave a good amount of products anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Sally, thank you for joining me. I don't know if you're going to join me for any more episodes to guest host with me while Barrett's out, but who knows?
Maybe so.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.